Yeah, good afternoon once more. So I'm Saulis Urbanas from Eurogeographics, and I intend to present differently from other presenters, not a project, but an initiative. So about how the data from national mapping cadastral authorities intend to be provided for the emergency mapping purpose. So in this presentation is a joint presentation of the Eurogeographics European Environment Agency and Joint Research Center. So and I've been sharing the slides with Eugenia Sharon and Guido Lemont. So starting first, what is this GEO Emergency Management Service? So GEO, that is GMES Initial Operation activities. So this service belongs to the GMES Initial Operation activities, and actually by this service, which is the continuation of former SAFE service, the intention is to reach the 3 points actually. First, to efficiently react to the emergency event when it happened, then actually to recover situation after the event and make the preparedness against the emergency event's happiness. So as you see from the slides, actually two types of products should be prepared by this service. So first, responding to the emergency event, actually how to react to the emergency action is the rush mode products, which need to be prepared quite quickly, so which means 24 hours in order to efficiently react with the services. And the non-rush modes applies for the recovery and preparedness prevention actions, and those have a longer development lifetime, so in from 30 to 60 days actually for the preparedness of the products. So what kind of products should be used for emergency mapping purpose? First of all, the satellite data. As soon as the emergency event happens, then the satellite data request is taken on board. And but actually, the satellite data are not sufficient for defining action and activities for recovery, let's say, or safe actions, so that reference data is really needed. So for the emergency maps, that's for example the administrative boundaries or the street names, they are not visible from the sky, so you can capture them by satellites. So the reference data, in-situ reference data, is the one of the component which must be there, so and should be provided for generating the final maps under which the decision makers are taking decisions and taking actions. This whole process, of course, is organized in such a way that the request should come from the member states where the emergency event happens. So, and requests are validated and then provided to the emergency service provider, which is the consortium of the private companies contracted by European Commission. And then within, let's say, if we focus on the rush mode products, so the emergency maps should be generated within 24 hours. Of course, it is the high target, so because within this frame, so you need to get a satellite data, get a in-situ data, put them together, so and generate maps. So, and also the products need to be validated by the European Commission service as well. In the process, what are the users of this service? There are three types of users. First is the we call authorized users, mainly the national focal point. It is the civil protection organizations in each country, so which usually are primary users identifying the event and then requesting the emergency products from the system. So they are actually activating the system and also using the system results. Then in parallel, EU services, which are listed there, different DGs of European Commission getting the results, and also the situation room of the European External Action Service should be used in connection with the other responsible authorities to be involved to the emergency actions, for example, United Nations or others. Then there are other type of users who have a limited access to the products from the system. That's the local, regional, other public authority entities in member states. So they are getting the all results if the event happens and touches their territory and their activities. Then, as I mentioned, international governmental organizations could be interacted as associated users, but that will be actually decided if they need to be interacted. And also entities, institutions belonging to the European External Action Service, so that I mentioned that the European Commission is taking care about. And also the general public need to be informed what's happening so with its emergency events, so some products which are not sensible for any rights of used data, they are provided to general public via website and other media terms. So, as I mentioned, the reference in-situ component is crucial actually, so for getting the good quality for emergency action, and what for it is used for the system, in comparing with the satellite data. So first of all, actually for the georeferencing and auto-rectifying the satellite data. So it is really important to have a validated and high quality in situ data. Then enriching the map, as I said, with some information which is not able to reach from the satellites. So like the road coding, road names and street names and geographical name of area and others. And also the data is using for generating of some statistical information and making information for actions. So with combining the mapping layers with the reference data layers. What type of the data in terms of the in-situ data should be concerned? So initially it was identified that actually we are looking for a wide range of different information from the member states. It is the different topographical data and thematical data, so in transport, hydrography, administrative boundaries, land use, land cover, orthophotos, digital elevation model, and others. So it is almost all teams of the INSPIRE have been touched, identifying that they are concerning data for the emergency mapping service. So the access for the information, as I described, is very important, because if we're looking for the efficiency, so then we need to have a permanent access to the data. So and it was identified that access to the web services, that would be the priority, actually arranging the data for the MES. So then we have been looking for the web feature service, web mapping service, and other type of web services. And also the dedicated internet usage account for those download services could be also arranged in case it is needed for emergency action. So the most sensitive aspect actually for making the arrangement of the in-situ data was that actually timelines of the data, and the data should be accurate as much as possible, and of course the level of details should be satisfactory. In order to facilitate the provision of in-situ data to the emergency management service, the agreement between European Environment Agency and Eurogeographics, the Association of National Mapping and Cadastral Agencies, have been settled, and this agreement is targeted actually to secure the time availability and delivery of national geospatial data during the crisis situation, and actually to provide a framework exchanging between the data of national mapping cadastre agencies and GMES Emergency Management Service. So by moving forward with implementing of this agreement, Eurogeographics has initiated 2 surveys amongst its members. So the first survey was looking to the situation of the available national framework, so where the national mapping agencies have their collaboration with the national civil protection organizations. And the second survey was on inventory of what's available in terms of the data sets and services from national mapping cadastre agencies, based on this initial indication of the data requirements. So the first survey actually showed that Eurogeographics members, national mapping cadastre agencies, have quite an important role for the emergency mapping. So as you see, that red color shows that almost all NMCAs provide data to civil protection authorities which deal with the emergency events. And actually some of the members which are indicated in the maps with this orange spot, they produce or take part in producing emergency products on the national level. So in only a few countries indicated, which is Ireland and Bulgaria, from the responded that they have no relation at all so with the emergency mapping, and Georgia actually indicated that they're in the process of settling the arrangements with the NCPO, which is not yet established in that country. So, but the general feeling was really kind of members are very interested, and there is a clear demand them to collaborate together. So also it is already certain agreements and live collaboration between members on arrangements supporting the adjoining countries on exchanging of the data. So here we see the Scandinavian countries, usually they are very collaborative between each other. So and for emergency actions, actually there are bilateral agreements where the data need to be exchanged between countries, but also there is some collaboration between Poland, Germany, and Czech Republic, and Portugal, Spain, France, also exchanging the data. And there is a collaboration between Bosnia and Serbia. So actually, the Bosnia is providing access to the national data to the Serbian Civil Protection Authority, which is acting for the 2 countries, Bosnia and Serbia. Also, surveys show that actually the access to of the data to civil protection organizations are arranged actually of the 2/3 of the responded countries. So either the agreement is settled between the mapping authority and the civil protection organization, or agreement is on the way to be settled, or actually those authorities do not need any agreement because legislation says that actually data should be available for the emergency purpose to that particular authority. So only 13 from the 42 responded countries actually said that there is no agreement yet. So, but actually the intention was to have that. So if that would be demanded. Looking to the valid arrangements in terms of the access of the data, still we have a manual supply in many of the countries of the data. So and the data sits in the civil protection organization, provided as the predefined actually service to them. But some of the countries provide it via FTP, and also more and more provides under web services, and the INSPIRE development actually facilitates the development of the web services. So in the future we see that more data would be on the web services available to NCPOs. So this map actually shows the situation of the availability of the national data online, so combining the web services, where the web services are available. Web services doesn't mean that they are all INSPIRE compliant, they are not, but still web services are in place. And also you see that in some countries also the dedicated FTP service are available for assessing the data almost online, actually, for getting the up-to-date and fresh information. Second survey actually we tackled the what's available from our members. So, and the questionnaire was distributed among members, and it was requested to provide information on the vector data sets, on the raster data sets, and digital elevation models. So vector data sets have been structured according to the INSPIRE teams. So, which means that you can classify the data by theme or scale or the web service. So, and the raster data sets also have been asked to provide a report on the orthophotos and raster topographic maps, either generated or scanned topographical maps. And also the elevation models have been, information about that was provided according to the resolution and vertical accuracy. So, in total, as vector and raster and elevation products, we got a response about over 600 data sets. So from the countries that have you seen on the map, and looking to the type of the data which is available from members. So as you see that one fourth of the data set are the small scale, then 1/4 are about the medium scale, 50,000, 25,000, and almost half of the data is provided in the large scale, 10,000 or larger. Looking to the what terms data are available to the users today, so almost half of the data are available on the web services. So web feature service or web mapping service, and some quite a big part are under development, so the service should be launched in a few months, actually, and almost 1/3 indicated there is no service for web service for that data. What is most popular information from NMCAs are, first of all, the administrative boundaries. So this is the biggest number of the data sets have been indicated: administrative boundaries, transport data, hydrography data, and land cover land use data. This indicates actually in which teams national mapping cadastre agencies have the major role in producing the data sets at national level. But as you see that data of the buildings, geographical names, they are also quite popular in the countries, but also some kind of data of the soil and protected sites have been provided as well. In terms of the orthophotos, we see the situation that each country develops, produces and maintains orthophotos as a national source of the mapping. So, and only a few countries has a low accuracy than 10,000 scale. So the 10,000 is probably the threshold. So, and even now the countries more and more moving to the 1 to 5,000 scale for orthophotos. This relates with the different policy actions, like with the land pass information systems need to be referenced now with the 1 to 5,000 scale. So countries are moving to the high accuracy from 10,000 to the 5,000 scale. So orthophotos, that they are definitely available from the countries. Looking to the elevation model, then we have a bit dispersed image from the members. So some countries like Germany actually maintains very high accuracy elevation data models, while some countries they maintain a lower accuracy. But at least as you see that 5 meters accuracy for the elevation is available from almost entire Europe. So, and could be used for emergency purpose. Based on the survey results, we arrived with certain conclusions. So what is the situation today? So we stated that it is a strong link between the mapping agencies and civil protection organizations in the countries. There is an available framework which naturally could be used for arranging the access for emergency situation. So, and actually the national civil protection organizations maintain the usage rights for the national mapping products, so and actually for emergency purpose. So further development of the services, of course, security of the data provision, and the data from mapping, national mapping and cadastral authorities are wide range and reliable and with a high accuracy. So that exactly requires for the good emergency actions from the decision makers. So by making this survey, actually Eurogeographics try to identify is this process is important to its members, and that was the very good feedback from the mapping authorities that it is very important action. So we have posed the question if you would be interested to collaborate between the other mapping agencies on this subject. So and that was very positive feedback, and based on that, the knowledge exchange network was established. That this proposal was put to the management board of Eurogeographics, and this need to be validated soon. So we are on the way of creating the knowledge exchange network for among national mapping and cadastral authorities for dealing on the emergency mapping demands. Also, following up the survey results, it was decided to test the concept of the access to the national data in 5 countries, taking just random countries covering different part of Europe, which is the Great Britain, Latvia, Poland, Slovenia, and Sweden. And it was by Joint Research Center and emergency service provider, it was identified the priorities out of those 600 data sets which need to be taken, so which we need to be pragmatic and look to the limited number of the data sets to be arranged. So the priorities has been settled as you see on the screen. So on the following order, that orthophotos have been identified as the highest priority in getting the data from mapping authorities. So half meter pixel size or larger. Raster topographic map as a background image was identified as very important. So and the accuracy was indicated as 50,000 or larger. Then vector topographic data set at 50,000 scale or larger have been identified, which means that also containing the transport, urban areas, the geographical names and other layers of the topographic data set. And digital elevation model better than 30-meter resolution have been identified as the priority for arranging the access to the data. So trying to avoid the complicated license arrangements for the service provider accessing to the members' information, it was decided that actually to use this available framework of the national civil protection authorities and to just arrange so that the service provider, European Commission, would have a right of the subcontractors of the national civil protection authorities. So this actually have no any financial implication for getting access to the data, but just require some legal notice that Commission actually agrees with the current usage rights of the civil protection organizations, and civil protection organization agrees that Commission shares their usage rights to the national mapping products on the same rules as national civil protection organization currently have. So this process is still now under evaluation. So and the test was done actually collecting the requirements from members, from mapping authorities. So and we need now to progress really kind of engaging with the civil protection organizations and actually settling these legal notices. As for controlling and coordinating the overall activity, the operational procedures have been settled, and European Environment Agency have done the job for identifying the clear role for each involved organization in the access of the data for the emergency purpose. So where Eurogeographics really maintains the list of the national data sets and serve a part of the national products, the Eurogeographics pan-European data sets, which we are maintaining as the harmonized data sets from our members' data. So these products have been offered to the emergency service provider. So and they are currently in use of the system. So they doesn't require any specific licenses because Eurogeographics has a license agreement with the European Commission for using its data. So and also plays a role on reviewing performance of the arrangements. Joint Research Center actually tests the quality of the data, maintains information about the service providers, and also kind of maintains communication relation related with the emergency management system and responsibility of service providers. European Environment Agency in this context also maintains the requirements for the reference data, assures the overall coordination in terms of how the operational procedures are followed, and also provide actually reviews and provide information about how the performance of arrangements have been followed. And the emergency service providers said that consortia of the private companies, they should get access to the data, and under completing of their task, so providing the emergency mapping products, so they need to provide a feedback how the process was accurate. So what next? That's my last slide actually. So what the future of the better arrangements for the emergency mapping system is that actually we have a vision how the mapping agencies' data could be easy assessed by the different communities. So, and emergency mapping is the one community which we have been tackled. So, as a future connection via cloud service, so that we were looking to create a cloud service for arranging the transparent and efficient access to the national mapping and cadastral agencies' information, and this cloud service will be done by also certain software development tools and generalization, edge matching, transformation activities, which currently 16 members signed for by putting the submission of the ELFI project on the Information and Communication Technology PSP program. So, and this project has been submitted, so, and hopefully will be positively reviewed by the reviewers and commission. So, and if that would be given the green light, so that from the next year the project will start for bringing data on the cloud, and then interrogating with the users communities how the other data, not national mapping cadastral authorities, but users' data could be interacted with the public data on the cloud basis, and the services could be settled. So that's all. I'm happy actually to answer two questions if anyone has, and I want to finish with a reference to the current portal, so which is available to the public on the emergency mapping, so where the events have been happening. This is the portal maintained by European Commission, so then you can see actually what's available in the time frame of 90 days, which event where happens and what kind of event that was. So thank you for attention.
Thank you, Salius, for giving us an example of operational scenario where data are really needed in real time to cope with disaster management. And there are questions for, yes?
You often have scenarios where you have international disasters out of the border of Europe, or also at least the wider Europe. How do you get data from Japan or from wherever? Is there integrated in like a UN setup as well, or how does that work?
Actually, I better hear you when you speak without microphones because it's kind of echoing. But if I well understand the question, you ask how the service is integrated to the national activities.
No, in wider international activities. I mean, I'm working with GMS in the national context, and no, he said it better without. Okay. Okay, so the thing is, often the disaster doesn't happen in Europe. It happens somewhere else in the world. So how do you get, now you only have a project providing data from the European institutions. How do you integrate this in a more international setup? Like, how do you get data from out of Europe?
Yeah, so this is now actually has a direct integration with the national setup, with the national frameworks. But if we are talking about outside the European Union, yeah. So then via the European Commission Emergency Service, actually, it is integrated with the United Nations efforts. So, and as I said, that in parallel, when the activation of the event is happening, then the information to the United Nations services actually have been passed. So in the future, so by the emergency management services has a look to the not limiting with the European Union countries, and hydrogeographics is not limiting its membership with the European Union countries. We have members from 56 organizations of 46 countries, including Russia, Ukraine, and others. So the future outlook is actually as soon as we'll develop the collaboration framework and the access of the data within at least the European Union countries, then we can go further, actually incorporating Moldova, Ukraine, and Russia actually to this service. So, and EMES actually today, GEO-EMES service is acting now as a European-wise, not European Union-wise. So the current emergency management service provider actually dealing with what available source is from the country. If the national public data is available, then it uses national public data. If national public data is not available, then it uses other available sources like the Google Map or Teleatlas data or whatsoever. So because the emergency action need to be taken so on whatever information is available, and try to cross-reference that with the satellite data. So the satellite data is provided also not limiting with the European Union, but on the European continental data.
Let me also add that GMES should be also the European contribution to GEOS, where GEOS have system of systems, should make available also other types of data at an international scale. But in general, I think there is still, my opinion, between GMES services they are developing, and INSPIRE implementation, there is still some gap, something to do. I think it's my personal opinion. There are two words that are going in parallel, and maybe there is need to integrate and better collaborate between the two initiatives, I think.
Yeah, actually very well pointed that I think in the last decade we have been speaking that GMES is going on own way, normally looking for the space data, and IN-SITU data is going on the INSPIRE kind of umbrella. So by this activity on emergency management service, I dare to say that it's probably the first practical implementation of the INSPIRE services for the use of GMES activities. So because up to now that was just randomly touched with the in-situ data for some products or projects. So, but it was not being developed yet to the operational service. And here we have actually the emergency will not stop next year or after several years. We always need to be ready for the emergency actions. So, and there is no any kind of lack of collaboration from the in-situ data providers on emergency action, because everyone understands that it would be just stupid not to provide the data when crisis actually happens in your country. So, so I see that I'm very optimistic actually on the product. So just today we see some practical obstacles in terms of the management and the defining accuracy of the data, and of course each country has a different specification, different resolution of the data, so we need to tackle those technical organizational aspects, but in general I think that we're moving on a very good direction actually.
Thank you, Saulis. If we don't have other questions, I will close here these sessions, and thanks everybody for attending.